The Real Assignment by Nyla. Of course, something like this would be happening to me of all people today. 1.42 million people in the city of San Diego, and I'm the one who has to go on a wild goose chase to try and find her most likely long gone psych professor. Your essays on socioeconomic status will be due next Monday, was the last thing I heard Professor Edmonds say before the whole city of San Diego was being told to evacuate for a quickly spreading wildfire coming our way. I packed my bags quicker than you could say socioeconomic and almost got out of Dodge before I realized I still had a paper due. If this wildfire passed and the firefighters got to it before it hit the downtown area, it would mean my essay is still due without a doubt. I had it done, thank God, but if I didn't turn it in, my whole grade would plummet, leaving me with no choice but to make the deadline. I tried emailing Professor Edmonds about the paper to see if class would still be canceled Monday, but he had never replied. I also tried contacting a few of my other classmates, but none of them could tell me anything useful. Edmonds had his address up on his class website in case any students had any questions or concerns over the weekends. I figured him being the old man he is, he still hasn't tried to evacuate to anywhere yet, and he was still somewhere around the house. I threw my two suitcases in the trunk and hit Harbor Drive. I knew 405 would only be overly packed with millions of people, panicking about where to go, so I stayed as far away from it as possible. Professor Edmonds lived on a roundabout, so if I could drop my paper off to him, then make my way to a hotel near Nevada, all within a day's time, it would all work out well. Trying my hardest to ignore all the drivers around me, I turned my music up full blast and made it through all the traffic. As I turned down his street, Professor Edmonds' car still sat in his driveway, seemingly untouched. Maybe he was home and getting ready to leave. I parked next to his car and knocked on his front door, my essay in hand. "Professor Edmonds, are you home?" I called out. No answer. I knocked a little harder and the door flew right open. The sight in front of me almost made me say forget the paper and the grade. Piles of papers were stacked in just about every corner I looked at. He had mentioned in class a few times that his wife had been dead for years now, so it was likely that maybe his home was a little messy, but this was just downright disgusting. Old pizza boxes were stacked ceiling high on the love seat. Pots and pans looked to have a month's worth of stuck-on food. Despite the pig pen I was walking into, the only thing that caught my attention was the television. He had left it on the news along with the coffee maker. It seems he didn't leave too long ago. I began looking around for some sort of clue as to where he could have left to. On the coffee table, his laptop lay open, Google Docs still on the screen. Come find. I knew typos and autocorrect clearly wasn't in his favor in this situation. Was he really in danger, or was this just the beginning to one of his short stories? The come fin part was the only thing that could be clearly made out. The typos at the end seemed to be as if he was being dragged away from his keyboard. The coffee maker and the TV still pointed to him being rushed out of the house. The fire was getting closer and closer to the city due to high winds, and I needed to get back on the road as quick as possible. I was worried about Professor Edmonds, but there was no clue where he could be or where he could have gone. Heading back towards the front door, I heard a low beeping sound that seemed to be coming from upstairs. I knew Edmonds was old, so it didn't come as a surprise to me when I found his little black life alert box on his bedroom floor. The small flashing red light had been flashing, and the chain connected to it had been broken off as if it was ripped from his neck. Panic set in as I picked it up. The life alert box, when pressed, was supposed to call 911, but no one had arrived from the looks of it. If they did and he was at the hospital, why would the chain be broken? It was decided. He was in danger, and it wouldn't be right to leave him. I had no clue where to begin looking, but I had the life alert box and a full tank of gas to help. Guards were outside on the road directing people which way to go. Nobody paid them any attention to see they were leading them towards a packed road. Luckily, I knew back roads that would take me to the nearest freeway that the news said was shut down due to reconstruction, but it looked perfectly fine to me and would take me on a direct route to Nevada. It would be so easy for me to just be going now and be at the safe hotel far away from the chaos, but my conscience told me I had to make sure all was well with Professor Edmonds. In a few of our lessons, he had mentioned how he was always at his favorite pub on the corner of 15th and Montserrat. I pulled over and walked in. A bunch of old men sat at the bar, sulking over tall glasses of flat beer. "Have you seen this man in here at all today?" I showed the man behind the counter the picture of Edmonds on the class website. "No, not today." He shook his head but didn't meet my eye. I repeated myself once again. "Have you seen this man come in today?" He put the glass he was drying down and turned to me. "Look, I said I didn't see him in here today. Are you going to nag me or buy a drink?" No wonder only the decrepit and depressed came in here. His attitude stunk. I started to walk away when one of the elderly men touched the fringe of my coat. His voice shook as he spoke. "I saw the man you're looking for." The bartender sneered and gave him a threatening look, but the old man ignored him. "Can you tell me more?" I spoke and sat at the stool next to him. He came in with some young fella, looked to be about in his 20s. They said a few words to the bartender here and then left out. If we're supposed to be evacuating the city, why would he stop to converse with the bartender? Is that all you know about his whereabouts? I asked. Any more information as to who the guy he was with, and maybe I could figure it out and get going, but this old man seemed to be zoning out already. The boy had on some sort of blue lanyard. Believe it was a USCD one. But that's all I know, he answered. Okay, thank you very much, I say and walk out. Why would Professor Edmonds be with another student? Was it someone in my class? Maybe he was looking to turn in his socioeconomic paper like me and got to him before I could. But that doesn't explain why the signs of struggle at his house and why they had to speak to a bartender.